I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Hello and welcome to the Flatlander Kennels podcast with Chris Jobman and friends. Today, this is a unique, very special podcast. We are out here at the Flatlander Kennels site, actually in Chris Jobman's living room, sitting around his table. So we've got a crew of people here with us today. We've got Teson, Dave Marsteller, Chris Jobman, Elena's wife, and in the background, when she decides she wants to say something, which will probably happen, is Tiffany. I don't even know Tiffany's last
Tiffany McGinn.
So we were just having a wonderful steak dinner that Eileen made, and we thought we'd just hit record. So, Chris, go ahead and take it away. Let's start talking about the day a little bit, and we can get into all.
Okay, well, thanks for everybody for joining. We got Eric Teson of Show Me Retrievers. We got Dave Marsteller of DJ Labs. Eileen. Tiffany McGinn is doing the board for tomorrow's master test. And then Elliott's here running Georgia. So we have a master test going on right here. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty for the Master National. We have 2 tests going, 100 dogs apiece. Everything's going really well. And it's hot. But everything's going well. The judge is doing a good job. And we were just having a conversation that Mr. Marsteller brought up about master tests and quality of weekend master tests. And it was a good conversation because we were talking about if a harder weekend master test would prepare you for a Master National better. Right?
That is correct.
So we were having this discussion. So Dave, and it's just a good discussion. Dave, what was your point you're trying to get at? And everybody that's listening, this podcast is going to ramble, where we're just going to go around and have some thoughts, and we're just BSing right now. Take it away, DJ Labs.
Well, thank you, Chris. I think it's just the point is the AKC requirement to qualify 6 passes to become eligible for the Master National has created a bottleneck in the summertime master tests. So if the AKC would drop it down to a 3 or 4 qualification pass rate to qualify for that year's Master National, then less dogs would enter, and then a longer series or a stronger 3 series could possibly take place instead of having to run the 100, 132 dogs in 95-degree heat. We end up with small, shorter tests. Safety-wise, I agree with it, but something's got to change so we can maintain the standard of the Master National and get back to what I would perceive as AKC leadership wanting the test to be more like.
I couldn't disagree more. Go ahead, Eric Teson.
No, I mean, to sum up what he's saying you have less dogs entered in a master test, which allows you more time per dog to put on a stiffer test.
They would qualify sooner.
They're already qualified, so they don't got to come back. So you're putting on in Dave's opinion, more quality master test, which I agree with.
Harder.
You
harder.
throw
Let's just say it. Harder
a test that takes some more time.
Harder master test. Which you have less people entering.
Yes.
They qualify easier.
Yeah.
That will never happen because here's the downside of that. And I like it the way it is. I like 6. Here's the downside of that. If you made it easier to qualify for the Master National, now you're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 dogs for the Master National. Now you're looking at watering down Master National tests so they can get through that amount of dogs. Just look at this problem.
Hang on. I think here's what Dave's saying. If you could throw a more quality master test, you would have more quality dogs running that anyways, because you are taking a better dog to the Master National.
Not necessarily true, because here's the deal. If you only have to pass 3 or 4 tests to qualify for the Master National, people are going to run that until they qualify. It's going to be the exact same dogs going. It's going to be the exact same dogs going because you're going to run more tests to qualify. That's just all there is to it.
Yeah, but some of those dogs will never, ever be enough dog to pass the master test that Dave's talking about.
I mean, Dave passed them. I mean, eventually it happens. I mean, it's going to happen. I don't think that.
I like where he's going. I just think it's really hard to get there.
It is. It is very
is.
hard to get there.
You almost got to just hit reset on everything. You're saying you're almost asking to run an owner-handler qual, and every dog needs to be that level to go to the Master National or even to be a Master.
I disagree. I disagree.
Well, it doesn't need to be that hard.
No, I think the average. I think the Master National isn't the Grand, and we can't think of it as that. The Master National is supposed to be 5 or 6 series of a master test that a good amateur dog can pass. That's what it's supposed to be. Now you can't expect the amateurs to raise their level to the best pro dogs in the country. You can't say, okay, I'm going to make the master test harder to make the pros harder to get in. You have to look at the average good amateur dog. That's what it's set up to be.
So you're saying I got a chance?
No. You might have a chance, maybe.
When you say amateur, there are really 2 different types of amateurs out there.
There's more than that, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
There's the guy getting off of work, Elliott. We've talked about this. There's the guy getting off of work that's training 3 days a week, and he's doing damn good with his dog, and that's a heck of a dog for him. And then you have the amateurs that are showing up to pro grounds, running with pro help. That is a different amateur, and then they can go off and do their own thing too. If that amateur, you said those amateurs have got to come up to the pros or whatever,
that's
the level of the pros. Those amateurs are better than some of our dogs because they have so much more time to put in them.
For sure. I see.
But you got your 3-day guys that will never be at that.
But you can't make the master test or the Master National the level of difficulty where it takes a really, really good trained pro dog to pass. That's not what it's meant to be.
Oh, I wouldn't want that.
That's what you're asking, though. That's what you're asking. You start raising the level of you're asking, hey, if I bring 20 dogs to the test and I only pass 10 out of 20 of my best dogs, we have a problem. I mean, I know you don't care about.
You're talking about your dogs?
Yes.
Yeah. You're talking about pro dogs. If
you're
taking 50% of pro dogs, and if your test is that hard, you are killing every 99%.
You went 5 of 30 and finished the other weekend. That's too much. That's too hard.
He didn't go 5 to 30.
He passed 5 out of 30.
No,
it was 11.
Oh,
it was 11.
5 sounds way better.
5.
But you see what I'm saying is if you're making it so hard that some of the best pros in the country only pass 50% of their dogs, that's too much.
It is.
Yes.
But that's what you're asking me to do.
I see your point of view, and I see your explanation.
Yeah, it's too hard because that's supposed to be. I mean, Elliott should be able. He's got a really nice dog. He should be able to sign up for the Master National and have a really good chance of passing it.
If he had a really good record going through Masters. Because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a consistent Master dog, moving to the Master National, and just show consistency all the way through the Master National.
I think passing 6 is plenty. It's plenty. It'll never be less than that. I think it's plenty.
Yeah.
And even if you make it 3 or 4 and you make the test harder, people are going to run way more tests to qualify. You're still going to have the same amount of dogs qualify. I really do. I really think that because they're just going to keep running because they want to go. So,
and what do you guys prefer as far because HRC you can get 2 passes in a weekend because it's 2 series. There's AKC, it's 3 series. What are your thoughts between the 2 difference between being able to knock it out in one day versus? I mean, this will be now. I don't know if this will go into the 3rd day or not.
It will.
This is the 2nd time now. It's been a 3-day competition.
But it's because there's 100 dogs.
It's
because it's 100 dogs.
Right, but that seems to
if
be
it was
somewhat,
a 66 dog, it would be a 2-day.
But that seems to be somewhat common.
At least if it's 100 dog, it is for sure.
Yeah.
If it's a 66 dog master, you'll get that done in 2 days.
So what are you guys' thoughts about the 2 series versus 3?
I prefer 3.
Oh, I'm very radical on that because I would love to see a master test going down to 2 series.
Oh, that would be great, for sure.
And be 2 more quality series because a lot of the master tests we run, we get 2 really quality series and then we get one that's just, hey, let's get it done. It's rushed. Judges got to go home and then we just rush through it. So we could have 2, going to Dave's point, 2 tests that are a lot more quality, but the problem is then you get rid of your Elliotts that train 3 days a week because they're not going to be able to do that.
And what I don't, so I would prefer myself.
Not picking on you.
No, not at all.
I would prefer to run 1 master test over 2 days. I cannot stand 4 series of HRC tests in 2 days. Sunday dogs and HRC it's too much.
Yeah,
I think
but we've
it's too
been doing
much.
it for years.
I know, but I don't like it. I never have liked
and
it.
it does work.
But some of those dogs, though, that get so high, even like the Georgies of the world, she's better off sitting on Sunday, not running.
Oh, yeah.
You're better off running Saturday, and going home. Or running
100%.
Sunday or not Saturday. Running 4 series over 2 days is a lot.
When I worked here, you did some, that is a very important lesson on HRC that you taught me. We would take 24 dogs on a truck with us, and we would have a Saturday crew and a Sunday crew. Maybe not to that extreme, but we would run 8 dogs one day and the same 8 dogs.
And 20 dogs.
Yes.
And
4 of them would sit Saturday and 4 of them would run on Sunday different. Because they couldn't handle
it's
too
much.
It's too much excitement.
Yes.
It's too much. They get too test wise too quickly. And like your cash dog, Dave. Oh, put Facebook ways. Your cash dog is much better if he runs HRC running 1 day.
Absolutely.
That's it.
All right, I'm going to be a little devil advocate here.
Oh boy.
So, yeah, I know. So, does that say that as a retriever group that we should be training our dogs better where they can handle that many tests in a row?
I don't know
Are
if
we
you can
cutting
train
the
them.
dogs short because we're not doing enough to prepare them
I don't
to
know
run?
if you can train them better. I think not running them helps them. I don't think you could train them better because, like you said, remember this weekend that Master Test North Platte, we're both going. Our dogs are
Yes.
unraveling,
My dogs are unraveling.
and we ran so many tests in July.
Well, explain this. We've been running since last Tuesday. So we started a test Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Double. Started the other one Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We literally trained that afternoon very quickly, drove to North Platte and ran Saturday,
We'll
Sunday.
run 5 tests in 7 days.
And we drive back here over Sunday night and we start. We got to train Monday. And now we're running another test Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
You ran a master test before you got here.
Yes.
So all of these dogs they're unraveling because we're running so much to qualify. I don't, like you said, training. I don't think you can train enough to keep them dogs. I think that dog is almost like born with it.
Yeah.
Like the tickets or the Robacan ticket, he can run every day.
Everything.
He didn't matter. I can't even run Flash every day.
Yeah.
You couldn't run Maddie. And you think she's calm, but I'm telling you, she'll start chewing water. I mean,
Yes.
they just unravel.
In the
Because you can't correct them when they do things wrong.
Yes,
You
yes.
can, because you're trying to get that pass to qualify, and it doesn't. Testing deteriorates training. It's all just like hunting. Hunting deteriorates training, and the more you test them, the more you run them, they just unravel. They just unravel, and they get so high, and they do things that aren't in their norm. Like he had a dog this last week and went sit to the whistle.
Yes.
I mean, I watched that dog sit to the whistle 1,000 times.
And I think you could easily do a statistic, especially on HRC dogs, and list the ones that failed on Sunday and the reason why. Breaking is going to be probably the number one statistic.
Just lack of control.
Lack of control.
Just lack of control. They just get too high. Even overrunning a short mark.
Yeah.
That's lack of. They're too high. They're too high. They handle on the easy birds.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't wait till this week is over.
Amen.
And I'm done. We're done. We're going to qualify 25 to 28 in the Master National. I'm going to probably send Andrew to Danes, and we're done. We're done until the end of August. And we're just going to train. That's it.
Right. Yeah, I've in the last since Tuesday, I've trained twice in the middle of all these master tests, and I've literally because we had to run until we finished the test and then drive to North Platte, so we only had a few hours to train.
Yeah.
We threw 2 marks and ran 2 blinds, and then Monday we did 2 marks and 2 blinds.
I mean, that's like training. 2 marks and 2 blinds doesn't even training.
And that's just trying to put them back together so we could keep testing. Yeah,
that's not even training. You're not teaching them anything. You're just trying to gain a little bit more control. That's all you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So why can't they, with the Master National, break it into 2 separate events and one on the east, one on the west? Or
The Super Bowl is not 2 different games.
but if it's the same standard,
It's not. When you start breaking, and I'm a big advocate of
but don't you
keeping
have
it
different
together.
tests? I mean, is it not? Everyone's not running the same thing when they're there.
Correct. But I think once you, and I'm a big advocate of keeping this all together.
I like this conversation because I'm against it. I think they ought to
I'm
put
all for
regions.
keeping us together.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to the Super Bowl, you all are together. That is the Super Bowl. If you break it apart, let's just say you break it West Coast to East Coast. Let's just say you have two different regions, East and West. It is human nature one is going to be harder than the other. That's just all there is to it. It's just human nature is going to happen. And now you have, I ran the West-East one was harder than the West, then the West hears about that. Okay, well now we're going to make the West harder than the East. I think I think it's too hard to do.
What if they ran them back to back in the same place?
Then we might as well run them together then.
Well, but then you have the dogs spaced out and not all at once.
Well, we ran over 1,000 dogs last Master National, had 5 tough series, and we got through it just fine.
And it worked just fine.
It was perfect.
100%.
It was perfect. We started on Friday, I think.
Logistically, I don't think that would be.
It'd be really hard to do.
My only deal on splitting it is it's a couple things. It would give some pros. We are stuck running the Master National. I don't want to say stuck, but we choose to run the Master National because that's what we build our crews to do all year. If I was stuck in the West, I could judge the East because that would give me the time to go do it. And then the same thing with the flipping pros. And if you had an East versus, not versus West, but an East and
There's my point.
Yeah.
There's my point.
If you
That's my point right there. You already used my point.
If you have an East and a West, you can have the guys from the East judge the West and the guys from the West judge the East. And they could turn around if they got enough vacation time, and they could run their own their own Master National on their own side of the country. So that gives the judges a chance to also run their own Master National, which also would increase the level of our judges judging the Master National because those judges have ran the Master National. I'm not going to flip scripts, but look at the Grand guys. Some of the Grand guys are constantly judging the Grand, so they never ever get to run the Grand. Well, the East and the West thing would give a judge the chance to go run their dog and then judge the other one. So I think that judge is a better suited judge to judge a Master National because they've ran them more recently.
I like keeping it together.
I agree with you. Me too. But
I want it all together. It's one event, and in the big push about splitting the Master National last time was, and let's be honest, I'll just say it: the guys from the South didn't want to drive. They didn't want to go back out to Oregon. And I asked, they called me up and asked me if I would give my blessing for their proposal about splitting. I'm like, no. I said, you guys just don't want to drive. Well, yeah, we don't want to drive anymore. I live in the middle of nowhere. I drive everywhere. And that's not an excuse.
We shouldn't even be talking about this because now we put ideas back in people's heads.
No,
about
the Master National is fine the way it is.
It is fine. Last year's Master National was really, really good. And we ran a really quality series.
They were tough. It was tough. They were really tough.
Now let's reel that back in. Look, we ran on some of the best grounds in the nation too.
Beautiful.
So were they good and were they easy to get through? Not easy to get through, but test to test because we had so many different sites in such a concentrated location.
I think the Master National could. One thing I would like to see them do is have 3 or 4 locations every year. That's where we go.
Stick to them.
Stick to the locations. You got Cheraw, South Carolina. You got where we went where we were at last year in Georgia. You got Bush. You got where's the other ones? But you could pick out 3 or 4 locations throughout the country, and that's where they go. Granted, you're not going to have one on the West Coast, way west, or way east. It's getting to be such a big event that you only can handle it in so many places. The Grand's the same way.
There's no doubt.
The Grand doesn't do time zones, regions. It finds the best grounds, and that's where they go. They're not worried about East driving to West, West driving to East. So I think that would be really good, but
yeah, the Grand's a little different too because you can run 2 Grands in a year, so you can. If you want to sit one out because it's too far away, you can, and it doesn't hurt you as bad as the Master National where we only run 1, so you have to go.
It's funny to me. I always talk to people there, like I was talking to a girl this last weekend. I said, "Hey, are you going to run your dog in the Master National this year?" She's like, I don't know if it's ready. And she got 6 passes in her title. She's like, I don't know if it's ready. I said, hey, a dog in July is a completely different dog in end of September.
Oh, 100%.
And you have to, if you qualify your dog for the Master National and you have aspirations to get an MNH, you need to run. You only have 1 a year. And you miss one, it's a huge deal. And just because, so like this year, the Master National closes up August 9th. I think is when it's your dog on August 9th is a completely different animal at the end of October or the middle of October into September. You just need to enter.
That is definitely true. I mean, we go through this qualification process that puts so much stress on these dogs. By the end of July, our dogs are. If you do it now, if you're in the South and can knock out some early tests or some test the prior year, but let's go with the dogs that just become. They come back this spring and we build them into master dogs this year. You can wait all you want or try to get those passes early in the year. But some dogs, they don't come in until they're ready until May, June, and July. So then you're stuck trying to get those 6 passes in 12 weekends, which is a lot on any dog. I think you brought it up in the midweek. We are literally running a Master National doing what we're doing right now. We're
100%.
running so many series right now in a
We're running
very
6
short
series in
amount
4
of time.
days.
Yeah.
The Master National, you're running 5 or 6 over 8.
Yeah.
We're running 6 series in 4 days.
It's stressful right now.
And with flyers and the whole deal. And that's what's hard. The Master National dog is a very consistent dog that can hold it together. Like Dave, your Matty dog is perfect.
It is.
It's built for it. It is built to run the Master National and the Grand.
Yeah.
That dog is mentally built for it.
It's funny. I haven't even.
If you train it better, it would have a better shot.
Jeez Louise.
It's mentally built for it.
I've
I
just.
should probably get a different coach then. I don't know.
I would if I were you.
Might fire my coach.
I would. But
It's funny that you say that because I watched that dog run over the past few days or last week I guess and then today, and I thought the same thing. She's just a very, very level-headed dog.
and those are the ones that
Are good at it.
are good at it.
Mhm.
The ones that are the high rollers, like the Georgies and stuff, they're really fun to watch and they're great to run. But to keep those dogs,
In check.
under in check is hard to do. That's
Especially
why those dogs.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients and stuff. I said, listen, you're not a great dog. He passes a lot. He's got high energy. But now we need to manage his career. We can't just go. We need to manage a career, and we have a bunch of dogs that are qualified that were entered in these tests that I've scratched them all because they're like, well, we should run. I'm like, we're not running. We're scratching. We're going to lose a battle to win the war. They need to sit. Just like Cash needs to sit. They need to sit and train.
He needs to train, not sit. He needs to train.
Train to sit.
Yeah.
I'd rather have them sit
Yeah.
than run a hunt test,
There's no doubt.
honestly.
Yeah.
So did they ever? I know last year there was some questions they had about restructuring things with the AKC. Have they come to a conclusion on?
Yeah, the conclusion was it was fine.
So they just left it alone.
Yeah. The conclusion it was fine.
And it worked great.
Because what happened last year was every proposal they had, every ridiculous proposal they had, we voted down. Because they were ridiculous. And so they came out and the AKC said, okay, here's the deal. You can run 5 series. And it started on Friday, I think, last year. Did it start Friday?
Too long ago for me to.
I think it started on Friday, Friday to Sunday. And they said you can go ahead and run 5 series as long as they're quality enough. And they were plenty. Very difficult, hard series. They ran 5.
Over 3 days?
Over 8.
8 days.
8 days.
And it takes
9
time
days.
to run them.
It does take that to run them. And we ran 5 tough series over 8 or 9 days. And the pass rate was literally almost the exact same as it has been for year after year.
What was it?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't
It
either.
What
wasn't-
is it normally with the AKC? Though? Is it below 50%?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's
30s?
30 to 40. I
Yeah.
think that's what the pass rate of Master National is. But, and I'm not 100% sure, but it's funny, no matter what they do with the Master National and or the Grand, tweaking it, the pass rate literally stays around the same. It's funny how everybody's always worried about, we change this, it's fine. Oh, it's not broke. They'll fix it. It's fine. But, and getting back to Dave's point, amping up the weekend test is not going to make the Master National harder, or it's not going to do anything.
I already know what I feel about this, but do you feel like last year's, you said, and I agree with you, the Master National is supposed to be weekend master tests that are, we're looking for consistent dogs. So they're not supposed to be, the Master National is not supposed to be any harder test-wise than a weekend hunt test. Do you feel that last Master National, they didn't up the game inside the Master National?
Oh, yeah, for sure they did.
Every bit of it.
For sure they did. And I think they were very difficult. I think some of it was ridiculous, actually. The series, our first series was ridiculous. But as far as you couldn't see the bird. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. It was terrible. It wasn't a good series.
I mentioned this today while we were running this master test. And I know you and Aiken say this all the time. I mean, Aiken loves to bring it up. We were on that test today, and which those are quality blinds, especially that right-hand blind that we ran. 10 years ago and even 15 years ago, you couldn't have found dogs to run those quality blinds. And now we're all out here running that thing pretty well. I mean, it takes – don't get me wrong. You get one dog that gets caught in the flyer scent, and I notice more dogs getting caught in the flyer scent
later in the day.
Sure. So, but the quality of dog has gone so much. The level of it has gone through the roof with the dogs that we're sitting here running. Chris is now Snapchatting everybody. It's
Snapchat
it's awkward, but anyways, the quality of dog has gotten so much better. It's human nature that the quality and the level the test follows.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the quality's improved in the last
knowledge,
pedigrees,
breeding, pedigrees,
grounds,
technology? The collars now are you can tweak it to even the softest dog. The grounds, the knowledge, the online knowledge, Freddie's deal. I mean, right now is if you're a retriever trainer, you have all this material at your fingertips. It's everywhere.
We were just talking about
it. Everywhere. And nowadays there's a lot more pros than there was 20 years ago. They're everywhere now. Yeah. I'm not saying any of them are any good, but there's a lot of them out there. And usually somebody can find a decent pro within a normal driving distance to help you. Yeah. You know?
That is a big help. Or a really, really solid amateur group. There are some amateur groups out there that are just good.
Yeah, real
just good.
And we've broken down and we've understood how dogs learn better than we have.
Good point.
And a lot of the corrections that used to happen will just kill a dog nowadays. Not literally kill a dog, but we'll just demean it and bring down its confidence and everything like that. Now, like the fact of, do you correct for a dog that makes a bad decision while it's in the water, or do you let it get on land? We've learned through trial and error it's better to correct that dog in the water.
Or when the dog makes a decision to do the wrong thing.
Right.
There's two different rules of thumb. I'm the one when I see the dog make the decision, then I get intervened. There's also
listen, intervening and a correction is different though.
Even a whistle's a correction.
Right, I agree, but the people that
changing
take that verbiage, and all of a sudden it comes with the e-collar correction is different.
I'll just say changing their mind.
Yes.
If I see a dog when it say running down the shore and it changed its mind, it heads to the bank, and I intervene. Yeah. There's a lot of people back they let them get out, then they give them a hard correction, get them back in the water, and then those dogs never get out of the water. That's not how I train. I train when I see the dog make the decision, I intervene. There's two different rules of thumb.
There is. And there's the black and white guy that lets the dog's feet hit the ground, and then they say, hey, now you get your correction because now you realize you're going to get this correction for getting out. Now get back in and continue. Your method is a little different because you're big into the thinking dog.
And
that is teaching the dog on the fly to make better thinking decisions. Goodbye, Chris.
Correct. But yes, I think that it's more black and white for the dog and it understands it better.
Yes.
And you don't have dogs that are either out of balance, meaning they're land heavy or water heavy, with that type of correction. It's worked for a couple dogs that
I mean, we've come
worked with.
Even since I've entered this. I mean, we've come a long way as trainers on where a dog is messing up or how we teach that dog, the different levels and I will say there's a lot of people, and you get that young dog, and all of a sudden it starts running your big dog setups, and you start correcting it like a big dog, and you deteriorate that young dog that's a phenom because you're correcting it like a big dog when that dog doesn't need those same corrections. So we have learned
even
to
not
better
correctly.
correct dogs.
The dog, that young dog doesn't need to see the look of that setup. Even the look of it, like if you get into a big tech water setup, that dog doesn't even need to look out there yet. You're all just running with the big dog, but that dog may not be mentally ready to accept a physical challenge.
So hard to do, though, man. We all do that. We all push these dogs to their brink. And when we got a great young dog, it is very hard for any of us to hold that dog back because we have aspirations just like everybody else.
That day, but it was some great young dogs.
Oh, I do, but I will say, I will add to this though that the difference between that young dog doing a big dog setup, I firmly believe is bird boy help. Actual physical bird boy.
Oh yeah,
you
cannot do
you can't simulate
that little dog justice with wingers.
There's no doubt.
We're talking about the big dog moving to the little dog moving to the big dog. So I train mostly on, if anybody's been on a property, the east end of my property is very hard. It's got the hay bales and the big tech water. I train almost over there exclusively. I stay over there almost every single day. And when Andrew ships me his young HRCHs, they just skipped their HRCH, and he ships them to me. They're getting ready for master. The look of the east end of our property, they haven't even seen it yet. They don't go over there. They stay in the middle to the west. That's it. They get to me, they're like, oh boy. I mean, it takes them mentally, it takes them a while to figure out that look. Like it's intimidating. And if you get out there and you start beating and banging and trying to put them over their head, you'll disintegrate them.
It's really funny that you're talking about that because we have a certain portion of the lake right at our kennel that my young dogs guys go and they teach, across the point, multiple re-entries, the channel swims. It's all kind of centered right there where they do it. I don't train there a lot, but like on rainy days, it's easy for me to train there because we can stay on the gravel road and we don't get stuck. So I'll go back there and then I feel like all my little young dogs got PTSD. I'll be trying to do something across there and they'll default back into training mode because they've learned all that stuff right there in that corner. So it kind of plays heck when I take my big dogs that never grew up right there on that part do it just fine. But those dogs that have graduated up to me, they go back into training mode, and all of a sudden I'm asking them, to angle entry across our channel, and all of a sudden they get in that channel and they're like, we played this game before. And the next thing they're doing a channel swim down it. So but yes, grounds. I mean, even grounds have got so much better.
Well, you've got to have good grounds, but here's the thing about having grounds. I've seen a lot of people have good grounds, but do you actually know what you're doing on the grounds?
Amen.
Well, how do you set this up? Where's your correction going to be? What's your plan? What's acceptable? What's not acceptable? And I've seen people that come out to train on our place, and I'm like, what's your plan? They're like, I don't have one. I'm like, what do you mean I don't have one? I'm just going to wing it. I'm like, that's not how to do it. And you have to have a plan, and you have to know how to train on it.
Dave, do you want to go down that? I know you want to.
Oh, it's absolutely.
Oh, he's about. No, go ahead.
Because I mean, when you are allowed or you get an invite over to FLK, in my instance, for the day, there is so many opportunities and so many things that you can work on that you end up either overworking the dog, putting it in over its head. I mean, it's just a fact. But I'll ask the two pros in the room. How does the amateur learn how to build a program when they get an opportunity monthly, once a month, on very good land or tech water?
You have to go. Like if you get an invite, you've got to figure out a way to go. And then when you get there, you do a very good job of being in the moment and being in the process. There's a lot of people that show up to my place or whoever, and they're on Facebook all day. They're like, okay, what are we doing? You've just watched 20 dogs run, and you haven't learned a damn thing.
Yeah, but what I think he's getting at is that opportunity only comes up once a month, and he's trying to build.
Gotta go.
He's trying to build a national level dog. He needs to be.
That's almost impossible to do.
And not only can it's different than saying, "Hey, Dave, come over on Saturday, Sunday," because I'm not going to be here. He could come over here on your grounds all he wants, but he doesn't have the oversight from you because it's Saturday and Sunday, and you're big and tough, and you're riding your Harley, and you don't give a crap.
I'm big and tough. I don't care. I'm not working Saturday and Sunday.
But no, Eric, you nailed it on the head. Because when we train with amateurs over in Cheyenne, it's like a broken chain on a motorcycle. it's not smooth. It's not. And you come over to an organized professional training setup, whether it be at Show Me Retrievers or FLK, and the setup is already planned. The wingers are in place, or the hides for the bird techs are already there, and it's just clockwork. There's no egos. You come to FLK with an ego, you're going to get destroyed. He's going to put you in your place pretty quick.
I'm not. Your dog is.
It's just the difference between a rough amateur group and a smooth professional setup is night and day. And so to take that knowledge of what went into that day's planning and convert it to a Saturday or a Sunday opportunity, it's very difficult for the.
I think a lot of amateur groups and or clubs out there, let's just say Elliott goes and with Georgie to his amateur group or to a club training day, right? And the people that are running the group, there's always somebody that's going to be kind of in charge of the deal. They say, okay, hey, we're going to run a triple with a diversion and a blind. And Elliott's like, well, I really don't want to do that. Well, but you know what? Everybody else do it. I'll just see what happens. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to stick to your guns and go, no, I'm not doing that. And somebody says, you need to do this. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to run one trip, one single, and maybe a double. And you have to do what's best for your dog and work out what you, I see a lot of that. Well, let's just see. I always hear, let's see what happens. I'm like, no.
It's not a good plan.
I think as an amateur, even knowing what you should run is, so the little group that I'm in, there's like 3, 4. I'm not in charge of the setups. I'm not a student of the game. Like, I don't study it. I don't read about it. I don't listen to all the podcasts.
You're too busy teal hunting.
Right. It's just, I love what I'm involved in, but I'm not a student of the game. But the guys that I'm with, and Jacob and Cole, they're real students of the game, and they study it, and they look at it. And so they know kind of, all right, well, here's what we should be working on. Here's the setup. And I think as an amateur, if you're going to get in a group like that, someone in that group has to be a student.
For sure.
Or you're just running stuff.
Yeah, just to run stuff to see what happens.
Right.
You could even take that to our national training group. I mean, we throw 4 or 5 marks out there, 2, 3 blinds out there, maybe just a blind, and every one of us runs it different.
Yeah, we all do.
We run it because we do it to suit our dogs. Yeah. We may change it dog to dog.
Yeah, train the dog that's in front of you. Yeah. Like Aiken may do this, and I may do that, and Eric may do this, and Rick do this. You train the dog in front of you, or you see somebody do it like, hey, that's probably a good idea. I'm gonna probably do that. You have to come in there with an open mind and train what is in front of you. And Dave has multiple dogs. He's like a collector, and then Elliott's got one. So Georgie needs to run. She needs to be more controlled. Come out of the holding blind better. She needs to sit better. She needs to get the. There's a lot of the micromanagement stuff that she needs to do because she has a natural talent to do a lot of things. And I don't think she needs to run a lot of multiple. I think she runs a lot of complex singles, in my opinion, with control and blinds. But that's what you have to work on.
But that's funny, Chris, because that brings up a whole different point of view. Because when I come over to a training day with you, I know I'm going to be there from 8 to 4 or 4:35.
But you do that,
right, from start to finish.
And most people want to run their dog and leave.
When you go to an amateur group, you wouldn't believe the lawns that need mowed or the honeydew lists that have to happen. So they come in and they run their dog and then they're gone. And so it's just difficult. And then you get the my dog syndrome, and I've had it. I had it, and it's, well, I think my dog can do that. Man, no, you can't. Your dog's not force fed. Your dog's not de-cheated. Your dog's not through X, Y, Z.
Well, let's face it. I'm playing devil's advocate like Eric does. You're training an amateur group, and they want to run their dog and leave. If you sit there and watch all the dogs run, and the people that are running their dogs are your level or under your level, and you don't learn anything at all, why would you sit there all day?
Iron sharpens iron. Say that all the time.
Yeah, you're not learning shit.
Yeah,
you're not learning. You need to train with people who are your level or above in knowledge.
Listen,
that's how you learn, guys.
We're all sitting here at this table because we thirst for this knowledge, or we did it one time.
No, I'm sitting here because all you talk to me.
I know. That's why I had to put a disclaimer in there. But at one time, it was videos and books. You were into this.
I can show you where they're all at.
Right. let's go with Elliott. I mean, he is sticking to his roots, guys. I am a hunter that is doing this to make my dog a better hunting dog. We have all gotten to the compass. I mean, granted, we've got to remember that's why we all doing this, because we're making better hunting dogs. But he's sticking to his roots and saying, hey guys, I'm not training my dog over hunting, or I'm going to go, do my blinds, and I'm going to go do my lawn so my wife isn't mad at me over training my dogs with you all day long. If I can go out there and run a subpar setup so I can get something in and I can build a better dog, we keep knocking these guys that are the root of where we all came from. That's tough. You know what I mean? Not everybody needs to be a Dave Marsteller where they dedicate 8 to 5. Amen. But what I'm saying is not everybody can do that. Not everybody can give it the time that you're willing to give it.
But then again, those are the same guys who go to a test and get all pissed off and blame judges and have mommy goggles and their dog doesn't pass.
That's not a
lot of them.
We should literally have this. We should change the direction of this podcast onto mommy goggles.
Oh my god!
And explain it. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about that.
Mommy goggles.
Yeah.
I call it mommy goggles, and that literally is. And pros have it, amateurs have it, we all have it. Is where when you run your dog and it fails or doesn't do good, you think, "Oh my god, the judge was hard. I should have passed." You forget the 3 cash refusals and the creeping and the mouthing the bird and the vocalization. All you see is you need everything good. That's all you want to see. Because if you see anything bad, that means you got to work hard or you haven't done a good job.
Yeah.
Which falls upon you.
That's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
If you look at them non-judgmental and you look at them and you really evaluate their run, and if you're a harder critic on them than the judges are, you're going to get someplace.
Yeah.
Right? It's like soccer dad syndrome. It's the dad in the bleachers screaming at their kid or the coach. It's the coach's fault. Well, hold on now. Is it really the coach's fault?
Right.
So
I do think that there is an aspect of the mommy goggles when looking at amateurs that it appears that way more than it is because they just don't know.
Yes.
Like when Eric, the last test we ran, he filmed it and he said, "Do you want me to," I forget how you phrase it. Basically, "Do you want me to rip this apart?" Everything he said, after he said it, I was like, it makes perfect sense. I had no idea that I needed, the corrections I needed to make, I just had no idea. And it came just from straight ignorance and lack of knowledge on that part. But then there's the part of like, oh, this is my little baby dog. I love my little baby dog so much, and so I can't critique it. I think those are two things, like just lack of knowing versus rose-colored glasses because you love your little dog and
and not addressing the problem.
Right.
Here's the thing. If you have let's just say you have a rough training day and your dog doesn't do perfect or do great, that was actually a great training day, Tiffany. That was a great training day because your dog, you struggled, you taught your dog something, you worked through it, you worked through some mental stress on both of you. Your dog learned that day. If your dog goes out there and smacks some marks and lines of blanks, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. It's too easy.
I'm in total agreement. I mean,
you have to have hard days.
I literally train. I know this sounds crazy, but almost for failure. I want to throw something that is, and here goes back to Dave about hard tests, but I want to throw something that is most of my dogs can do it, and then a lot of my dogs can't do it because then I go back and I teach that, or then I start addressing that over the next couple of weeks and making my dogs better in those areas. But being soft on your dogs in training, there's mommy goggles because you're throwing something that is not
because you don't want to have a fight.
Yes,
you don't want to drive home and go, "Oh my god, I had a horrible day today." When actually you had a great day.
Yes, and
you had a great day.
And picking that fight and
you have to.
Winning
that's what amateurs don't want to do. They don't want to pick that fight.
Yes,
they don't want to get in that fight because they don't want to fight.
Yes,
the good amateurs and the good pros will fight. We are paid
and
to
win.
Make your dog better. We will. I don't want to say pick a fight, but if it's a hard day,
address an issue.
You're going to grind it out.
Yes,
you're going to grind. If you start it, you better stop. You better finish. And those people that just give up, we're done. That dog didn't learn anything. You just wasted your time, and now you're in a bad mood. Where if you got your dog through it and went, you know what? That actually was a pretty good day. I taught this, and we reran it. We did this, we did that. Those dogs are the good dogs.
Yeah, those are great points. And as the amateur sitting amongst the pros, I think the reason that is, though, is because I don't want to speak for all amateurs, but some amateurs don't know how to put the wheels back on when they fall off, so they're scared to make the wheels fall.
But if you never
There's a lot of
let
self-doubt with amateurs, too.
Right.
but if you never let the wheels fall off, your dog never learns how to pick themselves back up.
Correct. But it's
And then you can't teach them anything. Because when they go and get tough, they're just like, I'm done. I quit. Because you never had to let the wheels fall off.
And we see that as pros. If we get an amateur, I mean, especially when I worked here, I mean, you always like, oh, you can tell it's amateur trained.
100%.
You get a dog, and we're not talking about the length of the mark or the difficulty of the mark. We're talking about the mental stress that dog can take. If you throw something hard and the dog can't figure out how to get there, is that dog going to keep trying, or is it going to turn around and run back to you? When Chris talks about, hey, it looks like an amateur trainer, or it's an amateur day dog,
It's not that fashionable amateurs. By no means
Right.
you can just tell the difference.
you're just talking about, can this dog take the mental stress of completing the mark, whether it's with help? I mean, even you'll see some of those dogs that you start giving them gunner help. Hey. And that gunner's out there flagging them down and turns around and runs back to you. That's the guy that's never made that dog do it. He's actually conditioned the dog to give up.
I'm just coming in.
It's okay, buddy. Oh, hey man, you try, the dog runs out, can't complete the mark, turns around, runs back to him. Instead of making him do it, hey buddy, good job. You know what I mean? No.
And get to that point is I always see these ads for stud dogs and or puppies, 100% amateur trained. That scares me to death. And here's why it scares me to death. Is unless I personally know the person and train the dog or the dog, 100% amateur trained, it scares me because for one, can the dog take the everyday mental stress of grinding it out? I don't care if it's got a grand title and a master on. Can that dog take the everyday stress?
Right.
And if it can't, I want nothing to do with it. Because I want a dog that's going to grind it out. Now, could that dog maybe take the mental stress of it every day and grind it out? Maybe yes. But they won't let them get to that point. Right. Anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, I mean, I want. Now, there's some amateurs out there that say, hey, when I'm saying amateur training, if I call them up, hey, how good's your dog? That dog's badass. I believe them because they're really, really good amateur trainers.
Yeah.
But if it's, Fluffy's at 100% amateur trained, I'm like, that's a red flag instantly for me. Instant. Yeah, but.
And you have got to, I don't know, explain that a little bit, break it down a little bit. You were talking about the dog that is 100% amateur trained, and you breed that dog, and we get a puppy, and then that puppy is in training. That guy that buys that puppy is trying to make a grand champion out of it. So he brings it to us, and that dog can't handle the everyday going out there and going to work. It needs the couple days off in between. It needs to be trained 3 days a week because it can't stand the mental stress.
It can't mentally do it.
Of training.
And there's a lot of dogs out there that are grand champion master hunters that are like that.
Because they only train 3 days
and
a
if
week.
those dogs were probably actually a lot of amateurs will say, well, if this dog was with you, it could have been even better. Not necessarily.
Yes.
Because a lot of these amateur dogs, they train 2 or 3 days a week because they're a little softer. They're perfect for them. That environment made that dog. If you throw that environment in the gen pot, that dog may not make it because it was that environment was perfect for that animal. Perfect.
So reattacking a previous comment. How many days a week? Reattacking a comment.
Is that a military thing?
That is a military thing.
Nice, good for you.
But how many days a week do you see your wheels falling off as a pro?
Every day.
So 4 days a week.
Somebody's wheels fall off every day.
I mean, I'm shooting for
how
50% of my.
So you got a dog that his wheels fall off on Tuesday. Are you rebuilding him on Wednesday, or are you still?
You better not be rebuilding because if you haven't built him good enough and it takes 1 day for him to rebuild, you haven't done your job.
No, but you're gonna pick that fight. You're gonna get it. You did that on Monday. You address it Monday. You work that dog through that. So yeah, I'm saying, hey, we're gonna throw a mark that you can't complete correctly. And then when you don't complete it correctly, we're going to rethrow it and retry it until we do. And I'm going to teach you how to get through that mark. Then I'm not waiting until tomorrow to repick that. Now, granted, I may throw something really close to that tomorrow, and now hopefully you've gotten better as a dog, but I'm attacking that, since you want to use the word attack, I'm attacking that problem right now. If I'm training that dog, I don't want every one of my dogs, if we're doing a skills and drills day or a setup day, to go out there and smack everything I'm doing every single day. There are some therapy days where you want a dog to go out there and just absolutely crush everything.
Just throw some singles off of multiple guns, ABCD drill, let them run, let them pick the marks up.
Yeah, but there are days where you're challenging the whole crew, and only so many of them are going to do it right.
And here's the thing about being a pro or an amateur. I'll go down the east side of my property and I'll set up a setup. I'll be like, I'm going to stand right here for 12 hours.
Oh,
I know.
It's setting it up.
Day one, 100%. The first dog, I'm like, I have to mentally grind this out that I'm going to stand here, and Tiffany's been here. Tiffany and I am showing this now. But I am going to stand here for 12 hours. And we are going to grind it out. I'm going to be muddy. I'm going to be sweaty. I'm going to get in the water. And you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Tiffany? But getting back to your point about the building the dog back up. So Eileen actually made a good point here. So this last weekend, we own a dog named Faith. She's a nice dog. She got a master title. She's been a little quirky. She wouldn't get in the water on a long water entry from Mark. She ran and she'd give up.
This just popped up though. This popped up this weekend.
And
yes.
she gave up.
How old is this?
She's 2 or
well, it's popped
3.
up over the last 3 tests.
Yeah. We ran so much.
Yeah.
So she started. So training was deteriorated over because of testing. Ran this. She needs 2 passes to pass the Master National. She just got her title or get qualified for Master National. Go to her plat. She fails because she wouldn't get a damn water on a long water range. She just give up. She's like, I'm done. But ran the blinds fine, but on the marking was all on her. She would just give up and stop. So yesterday, I get her out. We have a pretty good, tough
learning session.
Learning session. That's a good word for it. Worked our butt off on long water entries, angle entries, get in the water. I forced her in the water, use force, the whole 9 yards. Today, we had the same thing, long water entries, angling. She probably ran the best setup I've seen her run in months today.
That couldn't have worked out no more perfectly.
It was perfect.
You literally addressed the issue that she had yesterday, and they threw almost a like scenario today.
Yeah.
And the dog ran really well.
I knew with our property, we're going to have a longer water entry.
Yeah.
If it's shorter, it's going to be fine. But if I didn't address it, there's 0 chance she could pass today. And she probably ran the best test today she has ran in months. But I picked the fight yesterday.
You did pick the fight.
Yeah. You're either going to pass or I'm going to push the envelope and you're not going to pass because you're going to be down in the dumps. Yeah. But I picked the fight and we fought. And Eric's like, well, that looks fun. And I'm out there sweating and she's sweating and it was a good one. And today she did what she had to. She hunkered down today and she did her job.
Yeah.
But I had to reiterate, listen, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it worked good. She lined the blinds. She got in the water. She did a great job.
That goes back to the little bit of mommy goggles thing. Chris didn't have the mommy goggles. He's seen the issue. We drove back from North Platte. We stopped at a Dairy Queen to eat. Chris, right then he was thinking about it. He likes to act like he doesn't think about this stuff, but we stop at Dairy Queen.
One of my Snickers Blizzard.
What's up?
One of my Snickers
Blizzard. Yeah. He literally is sitting at the table eating his Dairy Queen, and he's thinking about addressing the problem the next day. And then he went and he did it. He addressed the problem, and it paid off. Now, it usually don't pay off that quick, but it literally paid off the very next day.
But that's the thing. You have to put your mommy goggles away, and then you have to be willing to get into the fight.
Yes.
Address the issue. Instead of hope it gets better.
Go ahead, Dave.
Instead of throwing fun bumpers in the water.
Hang on. Dave has got
fun bumpers isn't what she needed. She needed pressure.
Yes.
To reset her.
I'm still a Dairy Queen.
Snickers Blizzard, extra Snickers, no chocolate.
So let's pick on Elliott for a minute. You have your line problem, and we were fixing it yesterday.
Yeah.
And you asked me, when should I let it go? And I said, whenever she actually heels to the line with you and she's paying attention to you and not the marks out in the field. And I go up to get another dog, and I look back down, and you were literally throwing your marks. And you made the comment, well, she walked up there with me. You know what I mean? And then we talked about it, you know what I mean? And I didn't get to see it, so I had to talk to you about it instead of just saying, hey, this is what you did, because I don't know if that's what you did or not. But you took, instead of addressing the problem all the way back to the root and getting it 100%, you just went with, hey, she's better than she was, so I'm done addressing it. Yeah. And you didn't, in my opinion, you didn't pick the fight long enough and get you didn't condition the dog to the actual appropriate response that you wanted to get to the marks. You didn't give up on it, but you had mommy goggles on and said,
I glossed over it a little bit and moved on.
Yeah. Oh man, that really fixed my problem, when it only it started addressing your problem, but it didn't fix it.
Right? Yesterday when I was with Faith, I didn't gloss over anything.
Yeah.
We were down and dirty.
Georgie was still surging forward on you. She just happened to not do it in such a jerky manner.
And you weren't there.
Yeah. What do you mean?
When you went back to the truck, he was running. He was like, I'm running.
Yeah, but he thought he had it fixed. He was working on it.
I was working on it.
You were working on it a lot.
I just didn't have a high enough standard.
You just,
knowing what that standard should even look like for the first dog I've ever really trained continues to be a problem, because I don't know what that, what it should look
like. That's my point with your training groups. And you probably got a great one, but say hi, Tiffany. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Say hi, Elliott.
Hi.
Okay. So we talk about this with Tiffany all the time as training standards. And until you see the right training standard, you don't even know. But then you have to have somebody that's coaching you and or mentoring you that holds you to that standard and expects you to run to that standard. Right, Dave?
That's correct.
Okay. But you have to have somebody that calls you out on it. Yeah. Like Eric yesterday. Like, listen, if you really want me to help you, this is how it's going to be. And you as a person and a trainer have to mentally be prepared and ready to be at that standard. And if you're not ready to be at that standard, like, listen, guys, this is a little over my head. I don't know if I want to go. But if you want to be good, you have to. In your mind, if you're not ready for it, your dog will never be ready for it.
That public embarrassment.
There's no public embarrassment.
It's not, but it's...
Nobody looks at your dog and goes, oh, my God, Dave's terrible.
Well, no, but if I get called out, it sticks with me better than anything else.
But that's why you're a student of the game.
Well, I'm just...
You would think you'd be better than you were right now.
Well, I have to lower my standard.
No, I get it. But, okay, so take your amateur that doesn't have access to a pro. Where is that guy going to find that standard? In all honesty, he finds that standard at the test.
Yeah.
He goes to a test, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa, what are you asking of me? Yep. My dog can't run out to the mat and sit at the mat before I ever get there.
I don't think there's anybody in the country, unless you live, you should be able to find somebody around you relatively close to train with. Now, how important is it to you? Are you willing to drive 2 hours?
Right.
Spend the night? Get up the next day? Tiffany does it all the time. She's here every week. Yeah. She drives 3.5 hours, right? You can say yes. Yeah. Okay, thank you. But she does it every week, and she's getting better, and she's night and day better than she was last year. I mean, it's not even close. And her dogs are better. But her dogs are, and I'm just going to speak for Tiffany because she doesn't want to talk. Her dogs are struggling a little bit because she's raised her standard. Her dogs aren't used to that mental standard, but they're getting better and better and better all the time. See what I'm saying? Now, if she were to ask for that standard earlier at a younger age, she wouldn't be in a little bit of the fight she's in with some of them right now.
Like you said, 2 weeks ago, Tiffany was here training. I was able to be over here as well. And Tiff, you thought you had a horrible day. But what Chris saw was...
Oh, it was a great day.
Improvement.
Leaps and bounds of improvement. And that's what we all saw. Is what Stinky... What dog
I struggled with Stinky and with Preacher that day.
Okay, which one gave you 5 whistles, but today he gave you 7 or 8?
I think that was
Preacher. See, that's
a win.
That's a big
because
win.
Back it used to only give you 2 or 3 or 4, and now he's giving you 8 or 9.
Break it down, guys. Break it down. People listening here don't understand. You guys just went into something that you guys witnessed, and other people
yell at us.
Well,
we got yelled at. We got yelled at. But no, what we're saying is Tiffany thought she had a bad day because she had a lot of whistles and she had a lot of corrections on the line, not line corrections, but the line to the marks and correcting and cheating, not cheating, blow the whistle. We had some tough lines, and they are hard. With blow the whistle, and it took her a lot of whistles and effort to get there. So she was a little bit defeated. She was a little bit defeated. Her dogs weren't.
Well, her dog came in, and then you stepped in, and she stepped in, And instead of that dog coming all the way back in, she got that dog onto that blind.
Yes.
And that dog did take.
Where a year ago, if she'd called that dog back in, it would have been done. He came all the way in, the dog would have given up. She called that dog all the way. We're on a really long blind in the water. Called that dog all the way back into about 30 yards. I said, now go start again. And that dog went, and did it, beautiful after that. But she looked at that as a defeat.
Right.
I'm not picking on you. But to me, it was a humongous win.
But you're also talking about it's a win to see the trainer make that fight.
Yes.
Yes. It's not just the dog. It's the trainer.
She stuck it out.
100%.
Because she stuck it out, mentally stuck it out.
Key point. Chris.
Yes.
She mentally stuck it out. And she didn't give up. She mentally was in the hunt to fight the entire way. Mm-hmm. And made your dog better.
That's what you got to learn. You got to find that line where you pick that fight and you make your dog better because you stick.
And when we say fight, we're not talking like fight. It's a mental fight.
Issue.
It's a mental fight. It's a mental. I'm mentally stronger than you. You are going to do this.
Yeah. But since it's a chest pick, though, isn't it really a fight? I think it's a fight.
It's like a crayon fight.
It's a
crayons. Tiffany's a Chesapeake person. She's got like 12 of them. But it's like a support group. It's weird, but no, it's you guys be willing to get after it.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been a fantastic conversation. I think it's really valuable. Hopefully we can do more podcast episodes like this again. We've been going about an hour. You guys want to shut it down, or is there anything else you guys want to address?
I don't care. I'm good.
Chris doesn't care. Chris always has got a timeline.
I'm gonna get a Klondike.
We can keep going. I mean, if you want to keep going, I'm.
What do you want to talk about?
What else do we have to do? We literally just went from the Master National to Mommy Goggles. That was a weird transition.
It was a very weird transition.
Yeah.
But Tiff, you're a little shy, but honestly, tell the.
Elliot, you need a break?
Tell the crew.
Okay.
Tell the crew what it's like training, coming over.
First, tell everybody who you are. We want to hear it. Tell us your dog story.
When did you get your first Chesapeake?
In college. Ryan got his first Chesapeake as his waterfowl.
So it's Ryan's fault.
It's Ryan's fault.
But all your dogs are what people give up on. Did you find one in like the Humane Society or something?
No, one of them was a rescue.
Rescue, yeah.
I was his fourth home at 11 months. And
which dog? Name the dog.
That's Preacher, and that's the one I put a plate on.
How badass.
That's
National plate.
A Master National plate. He's the one that I brought along from start to finish.
And
that's huge.
That's amazing.
That's big congrats.
That's hard to do, and you should be proud of that. But we give you a lot of grief about Chesapeakes, but it's warranted.
I'll tell you what that story I would like you to tell is what happened on the last series at Jayhawk when you had to handle your dog. Because I thought you handled that really, really cool. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I know you ate the bird.
I know you drove away defeated, but I thought you handled that.
He did incredible work. He
really
finished an incredibly difficult test and ate the last bird on the last series. It was super fun.
But she turns to the judges and she's like, "I'm sorry in advance." And she just started.
Please excuse us.
Please excuse us. I'm sorry. And she handled that situation right there. She wasn't going to let the dog get away with it.
And 2 years ago or a year ago, she would have been completely defeated.
In his defense, that was our first test of the season. And we had not been doing much training.
I should never eat a bird. I should never eat a bird.
He should never eat a bird. He ate a lot.
That was like down to like the last mark of the whole, one of the last.
It was a big test, and he did good work.
And that was a hard test.
Yeah, it was. I would get the text. It was a hard test for sure.
Yeah,
it was. It was, and it's. But you mentally are getting so much stronger than you were a year ago. Like, it's not even funny. 2 years ago.
Just to address something, you were talking about that. I wasn't here for that training day, but you were talking about her working her dogs through, a mark and fixing line corrections, the actual line to the mark. I think that's something that a lot of amateurs struggle with. When you throw a mark, just getting to the mark is good enough for most amateurs. Mm-hmm. There's not they don't care about running the actual line to the mark. They think, hey, if my dog cheats a little bit here or a little bit there, but it can make it all the way out to the mark, that is good enough for a lot of amateurs.
Or they do the exact opposite. they try to make it into a robot.
Yes.
And Dave Marsteller wants that dog to have 2 feet on, 2 feet off. I mean, to be absolutely perfect so that when you do get that weird down the shore mark, the dog doesn't get out of the water, gets so petrified and so nervous about running the exact concept, then they forget how to mark. That's the fine line where you have to teach a dog, hey, you still got to take the line, but your marking skills are still got to be there. That's what people don't understand. Because he's always like, should we correct him? I'm like, no, leave it alone. It gave you effort. It's hard for a lot of amateurs just to tell when a dog is giving good effort or not giving effort.
That's where I'm going with this. When you take, as a new dog person, and you take just getting to the mark to the next level, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to start getting involved, and I'm going to make you get to the mark the correct way. I'm going to make you take the water instead of running around and do stuff like that. That transition is a very difficult transition when you don't have what you're talking about, Dave, when you don't have a mentor saying, hey, this is how you handle that situation. And Chris does it a little bit differently than I do. But I do a lot of recalls, resends. If a dog doesn't complete it, it goes 75% of the way. I may pull that dog all the way back to me, rethrow it, resend it. I may not rethrow it at all. I may just resend it. I may do a silent rethrow and resend. He may give pressure, especially with the thinking dog method. And don't get me wrong, I use your thinking dog method all the time. And I think that's where what you're kind of talking about, not building a robot. But what Dave's wanting is that thinking dog. He just hasn't learned how to build the steps of a thinking dog. When you're asking a dog to do these complex marks and it's thinking its way through the mark, it's looking out there and it sees a mark thrown and it sees a channel in front of it, a point, maybe another point. Well, it's looking out there. A thinking dog is looking out there going, hey, better get in this channel.
Yeah, been there, seen it, done it. A thinking dog isn't worried about making the wrong decision.
Right, but
so
it can also think its way through it.
The robot is worried about making the wrong decision. So the robot dog sees tech water or sees a complex mark, and they aren't automatically going to robot mode. And they don't want to get out of the water. They don't want to hit this point. They don't want to because they don't want to get in trouble. So they don't make very good, smart, conscious decisions. A thinking dog looks at it and they're relaxed. They're relaxed. They're like, okay, been there, seen it, done it. There's a point. I may or may not go over it. I'll make the decision when I get there. They're relaxed when they look at it. But if you are constantly giving pressure and you are enforcing your will, so to speak, on the dog, and every step that they take, you correct them, you never teach them to do anything. And then they're nervous as hell to do anything. They don't want to make the wrong decision. Where a thinking dog's relaxed. A relaxed thinking dog makes good, conscious decisions. Yeah. They're not making decisions because they're nervous.
Right. I was going to just bring up nervous energy. There's some dogs that are looking at a channel blinder on and off the point, and they get nervous looking at it.
Instant nervous.
Because it's something I talk about all the time. Correction at the correct time. You can correct your dog through that, but if you all of a sudden it gets on a point or gets out of the water on a down the shore water blind or something like that, and you, other words, burn it up. Well, that dog now has nervous energy about running that blind. When it gets out,
any blind like that,
right? When it gets out and you give it the correct correction, and the dog gets back in and says, "Oh, hey, good,
but
I learned my lesson."
How I do it,
that dog doesn't get nervous, right? I don't
let the dog get out. The second the dog makes a decision to get out, I stop the dog, I intervene, and teach it to make the right decision. That's the wrong decision.
Yes.
If you let the dog get out, burn it up, then now you're enforcing your will. You're not teaching the dog.
That goes back to correction at the correct time. Correct. When you're watching that dog, and this is that's funny. You're watching that dog do this down the water blind. There are things, and I always brag on you for this, and I'm glad I learned this from you, is watching and reading a dog. There are so many people that have zero clue what the dog is telling them whenever it's literally throwing it up time after time again. Hey, I'm about to get out. And all of a sudden the dog gets out and that correction was never made. What you're talking about is as soon as that dog is swimming that channel and it cocks its head and it's about to tell you to get out, you smash that dog with a whistle. As soon as it cocks its head, you go, Poop! And that dog already knows I made a decision by looking over there, and that decision usually means I'm getting out. Well, you change that decision by blowing that real hard, sharp whistle, and you literally could give a no hands back, and that dog 90% of the time, because you corrected it at the right time.
It made the decision.
That dog said, "Oh, I was wrong," and then it's going to no hands back, it's literally going to take the water because you corrected that dog at the right time with the whistle.
And if you let the dog get out, now you're in a fight.
So yeah,
or you burn the dog up on the bank and you try to give it a little or calf, it just jumps straight in the water. You're not teaching the dog to do anything. It's like just jump in. That's the safe spot. When in reality, it's so hard to teach them to angle in. That's going to be a whole different.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
That's so
the line corrections, correcting a dog with like what Tiffany is probably always not picking on you, but you've probably always said, "Hey, if my Chesapeake could get to the end of the mark, it's a great day." But now her standard is different. Hey, my dog literally needs to get in the water here. It needs to get out here. It needs to do down the shore here. And if it doesn't, we recall, we correct, and put that dog back online. That's what a lot of people aren't doing. A good enough job is just going to get
and line corrections and changing a dog's mind when it makes a decision. If you're going to use an e-collar correction, those corrections should be very, very light to start with. Very light, because if you blow that dog up on a higher, you're not correct. Now you're burning the dog up too much. And now they're nervous. Those light corrections, or even maybe a verbal no on some dogs is enough to change their mind. And you don't need, because here's what everybody tries to go too hot, especially in tech water. Now the dog is literally looks over tech water for the rest of their life. They're like, oh my God, here it comes. They're so nervous. I mean, it's just how they are.
Dave, jump in there. I know you got something to say.
Well, I think with Maddie, though, and hopefully you can see this, Chris, though, I've learned over the last 3 years with previous dogs. And yeah, I used to think that the button pushing was teaching. But when Maddie came
Burn them and learn them.
Burn them and learn them. Scoot them and boom.
Beat, shoot, and electrocute.
That's Show Me a Retriever. That's not Flatlander Kennels.
Come on now. That is the last thing we do.
Disclaimer, that was Show Me a Retriever, not Flatlander Kennels.
Jeez Louise. Edit.
Maddie was the type of dog that I knew couldn't take a lot of pressure.
Right.
So she was trained with smarter training.
We talked about that one day. If you had started doing that to Maddie, she'd be a robot. She'd never get out of the water. She'd make every wrong decision because she's making every decision she's making is a nervous decision. Right. She's not a good decision. She would be that dog for sure.
But it's hard for an average trainer to learn though that handling on a line is teaching that line.
Yeah,
and that's
what I'm saying. You have your amateur that says getting to the bird is good enough, and then that guy finally makes the decision where, hey, getting there is not good enough no more. We're going to start doing line corrections. You just opened up a whole nother can of worms on dog training, because now you've got to teach them and learn how to work them through these marks. And sometimes they're going to give up on you or handle their error. You're going to give them a little too much pressure whenever you didn't mean to, and they go run another bark that's similar.
You try to rerun that mark, they can't get too much water. They go the wrong way.
It's a really, really hard thing to learn.
That's why I said every correction should be a light. Start with light. If you're start as light as you can start with.
Error on the side of the dog.
Error on the side of caution, always.
Yep, you've always said that.
So I'm good. You guys want to talk? Tiffany, you want to talk about anything?
Nothing.
Well, we started with her story, and then she never went with it.
She doesn't want to talk. She's nervous.
I bet if you just start trashing on Chessie, she'll.
No, she won't.
All right. Well, yeah, I thought that was a great episode.
Good.
So, I guess that's it.
All right, guys. Thank you for everybody. Eric, Dave, Eileen, Tiffany, Elliott, for joining us. It was kind of fun. So
it was a lot of rambling.
Real fun.
Yeah. All right. See everybody at the line. Take that in.
Gotta strike this chord with the humble hearts. Bearing heavy chains and blue collar scars. Inevitably they're gonna get their way. If it don't take that fight, take it to